So there you heard that there has been considerably a situation of calm in the island nation. Remember this after, in fact, the protesters had even stormed the presidential palace yesterday when they were seen barging into the president's house. All this only to reiterate their demand that Rajapaksha, the president, must step down. Remember, the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has already resigned. However, the president is yet to resign amid the ongoing political and economic crisis, but it's not going to happen any time before Wednesday. That's because the president has said that he will resign, but only by Wednesday, that is July 13. So till then, complete pandemonium, chaos continues in the island nation, with protesters only mounting their anger, their protests, hitting the streets of Lanka, calling for, rather asserting for the president to step down as Sri Lanka continues witness its worst economic crisis for the first time ever in decades in its independent history. And in fact, there was also a massive political showdown between the protesters as well as the Lankan cops, with the cops going after the protesters, hurling tear gas, in fact thrashing several protesters. As you can see the visuals on your screens, you can see how the protesters have assembled outside the old Parliament building, and on the other window, in fact, you can also see how the cops are brutally thrashing the protesters, asking them to bring an end to their violent protests. And I'm also being joined by Madhuri Ranasinghe, freelance writer and journalist from Sri Lanka. Ma'am, a very, very good afternoon to you, and thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. Now, you know, we for months now, in fact, we've been covering the complete implosion that has been taking place in Sri Lanka. There's no end to this political and economic crisis. But if I may just start by asking you here, what do you think can ultimately end this crisis? And, you know, we've in fact seen how the protesters are continuously asserting their demand that it's time Rajapaksha must step down. What's the road ahead for the Rajapaksha government? Is this crisis going to end anytime soon? Your 2 cents on this.
Thank you for having me today. So my 2 cents on this is people are demanding the Rajapaksha family to step down from the government and whatever the duties that they're doing at the moment. If you look at the structure, you can see a lot of Rajapakshas who are in prime positions, starting from presidentship to a lot of ministries and stuff. So people are demanding all the Rajapaksha family members to step down. So till that happens, I don't think the protests that are in goal phase will stop. So people will continue to demand that from the government. As soon as we have the political stability, we can think about steering this economic crisis to a right direction. So at the moment, if you look at the government today, what they are doing, they obviously didn't handle it properly. They didn't manage it properly. That's why people are so angry about it, and they are frustrated with how things are going on, especially about the fuel. So whoever is coming to the new government have to take care of what people demand and what how they are planning the economic crisis, because I don't see a quick solution for the economic crisis at the moment. We have a long road ahead to recovery. So as soon as possible, a new government comes, they have to plan these things in a way that it will benefit the general public. But I don't think it will be a very feasible option as well, because there are lots of things to be considered. That's what I see in here. So as soon as Rajapaksha government they go off from the government, I believe the protests will smoothly go off, but there will be certain groups, civil movements and societies, organizations who will be working on this cause for a long time. Because I know from the inside, there are people who are working on this for a long time, and they will continue to work on the work on the people's side and connect whatever the demands that are that we need or maybe the people need to the parliament.
All right, like you just mentioned, that in fact, the very fact that there is complete implosion, the Lanka island is completely on the boil is because the government, the in charge government did not handle it well. So if I may just ask you, just if you could elaborate more on what exactly led to this mess. Where did the government falter in terms of, looking at the demands of the people, and what exactly led to this economic crisis?
So if you look at 2019, before the COVID hit, we were going on the right route from the last government. But what happened with the last government was they failed in national security. If you remember the Easter attacks, so they were unable to stop it. So then people were frustrated and gave the power to Gotabaya Rajapaksha and their government. Um, so what happened with them was they started. The first fall that they did was they cut the tax. There was a big tax reform that Yahapalana government did before 2019, and with the Gotabaya government, they withhold it and they took it out. With that, we started to decrease. I mean, it started to fall with COVID and a lot of loans in our hand. So economic crisis began. So if you understand, that's where the all of these structural issues or maybe the economical issues started. Then we came to a point that there were not enough dollars to uh, pay for the exports, and our previous CBSL governor started printing millions of rupees, and it started the inflation. And then again, he put a certain tab, like a price tag on the dollar. So that also made people go through unlawful channels for foreign exchange, and we lost a lot of foreign exchange that came into Sri Lanka directly through right channels. So these are few of the decisions that led to this economic crisis.
One final question before I let you go. We know, in fact, that Rajapaksa and family hold massive clout in Sri Lanka. But what next once Rajapaksa resigns? That is, I'm assuming by Wednesday, as the reports are stating. What's next for the island nation? Who can be expected to take over as the caretaker government?
Uh, that's not. We are not quite sure about who will take over at the moment. But what I know is the opposition party is trying to collect 113 seats from the parliament, which is the majority. So what I heard from Vasudeva Nanayakkara before, who's also a parliamentarian, that they are already secured 113 seats from the parliament, which means they have the majority in parliament at the moment. So today there's a meeting happening with party leaders. So whatever they decide will be our future, I believe, because yesterday Gotabaya Rajapaksha told that he'll accept any decision that will be taken by the party leaders meeting. So let's see what will happen. And I honestly believe that we'll go for a national government, uh, including almost all the opposition party leaders and party members. That is the best option we have at the moment as well.
All right, Madhuri Ranasinghe, thank you so much for your time to Mirror Now. So that was Sri Lankan writer and journalist Madhuri Ranasinghe sharing her 2 cents on this whole political crisis that has jolted the island nation of Sri Lanka. Remember, the protests only continue to mount by the day as Rajapaksa continues to drag his feet in when it comes to resigning, to stepping down, as political and economic crisis only continues to intensify in Sri Lanka.